Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. I'm just admiring your shirt there, Bruce.
Thank
I
you.
like that sweater that you got on there. Nice.
Thank you.
It's nice and warm. Yeah.
My wife got me a whole bunch of Oilers wear.
Oh, yeah. Is that
Oilers? No, it wasn't. It isn't. And this is 4 games in a row since I wore any of the Oilers wear during a game. And I'm not a real superstitious person, but on the other hand, don't fight it. You know, they won all 4 of those games. They weren't winning too well before when I had a blue this or an orange that. Oh, works for you. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I had on my
I wear the Oilers stuff on the off days now.
Yeah. I only have one Oilers thing.
I'm not a real merch guy myself, but it keeps showing up under the tree and in different places. Comes in the mail. You know.
There you go. Bruce, big win. Huge win. Come from behind win against Winnipeg Jets, a really good team in a very tough, hard-fought game. A goalie's duel.
Indeed.
The Oilers win 3-1 with an empty net goal. Because it really is a big win, we will go with our 2 good things, 2 bad things, 2 numbers, and 1 conundrum podcast, but we'll go with 2 good things each. What's your first good thing?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the goalie, David. Stu Skinner. I thought he responded big time in a huge showdown against one of the NHL's best. And he was beaten for one, which I think we'll agree wasn't his fault at the end of the first period. And it was a 1-0 game for a long time, and Oilers were pushing, and Winnipeg got a few chances on the counterattack. And if a second goal goes in, this game's probably over.
Yeah.
And it never went in. And Stu put up a nice wall in front of the net. Made some good stops and hung in there, found the pucks through traffic, and didn't have any issues with greasy rebounds, and was there and solid on the occasions that the big save was needed. He made it, and I thought maybe saved his best for just after the Oilers had finally tied it 1-1, and they had a play behind their own net where Winnipeg came out front, and they had 2 great chances from close range, jam play, and then Adam Lowry with a real drive on the rebound that Skinner caught just enough piece of it to send it wide, and that would have been a killer time to give one up. And he responded there, and basically he responded all night. And for those that were concerned that he might not be able to go, 4 games in a row, he's played the last 4 games, and the Oilers won all 4 of them in a 7-day span, and saved the best for last, in my view. And including there was a shutout, 2-goal game against, and of course we had the Vegas game with all those kind of weird goals in it, and then tonight a tight game, but both goalies were tested, and they were big players in this game.
Just a quick aside on the Vegas game. I've been wondering what kind of defensive system the Oilers have been playing in their own zone. So I went through the Vegas game trying to figure it out. And the Oilers were so little in their own zone, Bruce, all game long. It was hard to tell because they were just constantly getting the puck out. And yet they gave up 4 goals. It was just such a weird game in that regard. But the Oilers won. And they won this game. Bruce, this was a fantastic win. Up there was the Seattle win, I think. Was that the other comeback victory that the Oilers had this year?
Yes.
Yeah. So this
game against Seattle.
That was huge, and this was really big to beat a good team like this. My good thing is the first goal, because it didn't feel like the Oilers were going to win this game. It felt like it was going to be the same old story where the other team's opposition, this time not a no-name goalie, It's usually a no-name
Mhm.
goalie who
Yeah.
stones the Oilers. This time, one of the best goalies in the league, Connor Hellebuck, and just totally stopping them, stoning them, and
Getting a
and they
piece of everything.
finally they were the Oilers were around the net, buzzing around the net. They got 16 grade A shots this game, Bruce. When the Jets had 12, the subset of 5 alarm shots were actually for the Jets 8-7. And so the Oilers were just buzzing around, getting all kinds of really good shots, and then just moments where if the puck just went one little scintilla in the other direction, one small measure unit of measurement, um, we would have seen them score, but they couldn't get a bounce. It just seemed like it just was not going their way. The calls in the game didn't seem to be going their way. Nothing was going their way. They couldn't score, even though they were playing actually a very strong game, an impressive game, and it looked like they were going to have a moral victory. Like, well, they beat us by one in a 1-0 game, but we outplayed them a bit.
We outshot them. We had more expected goals.
Yeah,
Uh, that
sucks.
stuff
That
that
sucks.
enrages some people, and others say, well, over time, you play enough games where you carry the play and deserve more goals than the other guys. Those games, those wins are going to start happening, and you know what? They have started happening.
They have, and they did in that one, and it happened tonight on that one play. I mean,
Hmm.
first of all, Ryan McLeod makes a really, really strong spin move at his own blue line, puts it up, and
Yeah.
just as a confident, heady, smart pass by a guy who wants to stick in the NHL. Passes it up to Nurse, who's cruising to attack because they're down a goal. Nurse moves in over the blue line, and from the high slot area, hammers. He really risks a hard shot. It was a hard shot, and it's right through the legs of the opposing defenseman. And
Hmm.
somehow from the high slot, he beat Connor Hellebuck. It was just at the exact right spot, just above his pad and above his glove.
You got a piece of that
And
one too.
he got a piece of it and it dribbled in the net. I couldn't believe my eyes that the Oilers
Yeah.
had some good luck
Yeah.
finally. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What happened there? And I didn't have a sense at that moment the Oilers were going to win the game. I still thought, oh geez, there's 6 minutes left to lose this, because we've been through that a lot this season where the Oilers can't
Hmm.
get anything done when they have a tie or a lead. But it didn't work out that way. And so great play by Darnell Nurse. I just wrote a post actually about Darnell Nurse, at least right now, being worth his salary.
Hmm.
And I know that's some people will never accept that and never believe that. But Nurse is worth his salary when he
Well,
is playing like one of the top shutdown demon in the NHL, as he does play at times. And right now he's in that zone. He's had 3 great games in a row as rated by Cult of Hockey game grades. I think he might have another great game here.
he
He
had he had a real good game for sure.
Yeah, he sure did. And he's just when he's playing within himself, not trying to do too much on defense, man, he can stop the best attackers on the other team quite well. There were some moments when CC and Nurse actually had some trouble tonight, but Darnell is playing his best game, his A game. I think some of the best hockey of his career, and great to see. Fantastic goal.
Paul Coffey.
The confidence
He,
man. The
well,
defense
apparently
whisperer.
he is a very, very positive speaker, and I think some of what he's saying to players is getting through to them. Uh, I mean, and Nurse is doing a couple things. Uh, he's protecting his own blue line more fervently. He used to always kind of give up the blue line and
Yeah.
do the defending deep in the zone. And tonight I saw another one play in particular where he just stepped up and stopped the rush halfway between the center red line and the Oilers blue line, decisively won the battle, and the puck was going the other way. And there was another one where there was a guy, Nemestikov, maybe, who had a really good game for Winnipeg, I thought, and he was trying to fight up the right wing boards just inside Edmonton's line. And it looked like he had space, and Nurse just came in with his arm and his stick outstretched, and he kind of fended him off with his arm, and he punched the puck back up the wall with his stick. And it went from being a guy maybe bursting through on the boards for an odd man chance to nothing because Edmonton actually had the puck because Nurse had made the stop.
He also made a stop at the side of the net on the power play that was pointed out during the broadcast, where he cleared away a puck that was just about to go into the net, and he was in the right spot at the right time and hammered that away. So, yeah, it's good to see Bruce. It's coming right at the right time.
It is good to see.
The Oilers, he needs to play this way. He's fully capable of it, and it's a fine thing. Bruce, what? Oh, I wanted to say on Skinner. After that first goal, the Jets had 8 grade A shots, and 4 of them were 5 alarm shots. So you normally expect about 2 or 3 goals on that kind of offensive output. But that's how good Stuart Skinner was. He kept the team in when you expect about 2 goals to be scored, and if not more than that, and no goals, none, and good for him. All right.
Yeah, well, the expected goals, according to Natural Stat Trick, in all situations was 3.8 for Edmonton and 2.4 for the Jets. So they had Edmonton as, the better team and deserving of the win. On the other hand, if Skinner had given up 2 or 3 goals, as you would expect from 2.4, they're either playing in overtime or they're actually losing that game. But he held them to 1. So, he did as good a job as Hellebuyck did in keeping the goals below expected. And of course, the Nurse goal, I think we have to record the Nurse goal as an unexpected goal. The way Hellebuyck was playing to let that one in was a very big surprise, but I'll take it.
Okay, your second good thing, Bruce, is...
Yeah, I'm going to go with the much maligned Ryan McLeod, who had I won't say a great game tonight, but he had a good game tonight, and he responded finally on the score sheet with an assist, as you've already pointed out, on the Nurse goal. And a very good play, a very nice, strong play to gain possession, to pivot hard inside his own blue line, to make another little move in the neutral zone and feed it to Nurse. And just, you don't think that's necessarily going to be a scoring play, but it was a solid play moving the puck. And when the percentages are against you, you can make a lot of solid plays and get rewarded for none of them. And we've basically been seeing that with Ryan McLeod, who's got pretty decent underlying numbers. He drives some people, including some reporters in this town, crazy with his lack of old style physical play, and he does play too much on the perimeter for my liking as well. But he's starting to roll up his sleeves, is the impression I've been getting. And now tonight he got that assist, and that was he was on a line at that point with Matthias Janmark, Connor Brown, and Ryan McLeod. And I said to my wife, who's going to score? Because they had 1 goal among the 3 of them all year. And that came last game when Janmark finally broke the bubble. But that was the line in the 3rd period. And when those guys were on the ice for the tying goal. And of course, none of them actually scored it. Nurse did. But nonetheless, we'll take it. And then finally, McLeod broke the extensive goal scoring bubble that had been all season, all last year's playoffs, and back into towards the end of last season, I think 36 games without a goal, by not beating Connor Hellebuyck, but by scoring from center onto the empty net. And the fact that his coach had the trust to put that guy out there after when Edmonton took the lead, I got to say, I mean, this could be my good thing. The whole last 2 minutes and 13 seconds, they just took the puck into Winnipeg's end. They controlled it there. They had a couple. Thought maybe they were going to get a chance to score. Somebody batted a puck down that was lobbed in, but Winnipeg didn't even come close to coming on Edmonton. And then Edmonton, to their credit, they had the big guys out there looking for free points.
Yeah.
yet they had the discipline to go off on a line change with 30, 35 seconds left. And the McLeod line came over the boards, and it was the right choice. And I'm not sure it was the line, but it was McLeod himself. And of course, uh, Cody Cece made a play at the blue line to stop a rush, popped it up to McLeod, and he made no mistake. And it's just my good thing is that he's finally scored and got off the schneid. Maybe a little bit of the pressure will come off this young guy because he's sure been feeling it and it's sure been ramping up. I mean, we were giving him some crap here on our podcast last game, and deservedly so. You know, he made a huge mistake on the game tying goal, but all of a sudden now in his last 6 games, he's got 4 points. And, you know, goal and 3 assists, and you got to start somewhere. Well, 4 points in 6 games, and I think +2 tonight. So over that span, yeah, you know, 4 points +1, and part of the penalty kill, which has really been getting the job done for this last while. So he's getting some positive arrows, and so I'm just going to single him out as a good thing that he scored and that he, you know, played a key role in an important win for the Oilers.
My second good thing, Bruce, is the winning goal. And it was interesting. Kulak took a penalty holding the stick. McDavid took a penalty where he was interfering. There seemed to be lots of those kinds of plays. And it was interesting that those two ones were singled out. It was going on all game, both teams. And, you know, to call 2 of them was an interesting thing. Finally,
2 of them on Winnipeg. Both of their penalties were holding the stick, and one on Edmonton.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So the clear majority of penalty calls tonight were for holding the stick.
McDavid did the wise thing when his stick was grabbed with
he let it go.
2.5 minutes left in the game. He just thought, okay, I'm just going to let it go. And there's nothing. They got to call it, and they did. Because it was Velarde. It was clearly grabbing his stick, and he just did it was a really smart, cagey veteran move by Connor McDavid to let go of his stick like that. He forced the call, and he got it. He wouldn't have got that call, I don't think, Bruce, if he hadn't done that. If he hadn't let go of the stick. So good for him. Anyway, Bruce, the goal was spectacular. Leon Draisaitl has been fighting it a bit this year. I think a bit less than, he does have 28 points, or let me see, 29 points now.
Points, 10 goals.
10 goals. You know, it's not his usual pace that we've seen in maybe last year or the year before, where he was getting like 1.5 points a game or whatever it was, or closer to that. He is at one. It's not updated yet at the NHL site, but heading into the game, he was at 1.33 points per game. So he's still around that. So his struggles have been a little overstated. He's actually been playing really strong hockey. Generally speaking, he's been one of the Oilers' most consistent players throughout the season. Anyway, that goal, though, Bruce, was beauty. It was one of the great executioner shots that we've seen him make. It was a classic. And, the pass from McDavid, where McDavid's cutting into the middle of ice and passes it back kind of across the grain a little bit, puts it right there, and McDavid slams it home. Fantastic shot. And I do have some numbers. We for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1/4 seasons, we've been tracking Draisaitl's executioner shots, how often he makes them. So we're tracking type of shots, and he's pretty consistent. Although in 29-20, I think that was his MVP season, was it not?
Yes.
He actually had more per game. That was the highest recorded that we've seen it. He had 0.92. He almost had one a game. He had 65 of them in 71 games. Then the next year he had 46 of them in 56 games. So a 0.82 point game per game. And then the next year, 0.71. Last year, 0.65 per game. And this year he's at 0.73 per game. So he for all his struggles, he's still getting off that one-timer shot. And he usually scores on average in including the playoffs. In these last 4.25 seasons, he scored on 36% of his executioner shots that hit the net. This year he's at 31%, so he's a little below his average, but not much. And it's fairly typical. You know, there's been a few playoff seasons, especially, where he's just been unreal in terms of shooting the puck. But usually in the regular season, he's around 32, 33. This year, 31%. So he really hasn't. For the narrative of Leon's struggles, maybe losing his confidence a bit, he's been hammering that puck pretty good. And in 2 of the last 3 games against both Washington and tonight against Winnipeg, he scored really big goals with the executioner shot, blasting it.
He also got one in the intermediate game against Anaheim. But it was like the 7th goal in the game. But it was also a wicked drive in the Anaheim game in the power play in the 3rd period.
Yeah. So, is that right? Let me just check that. Maybe it's 3 games in a row.
3 out of 4, not in the Vegas game, but in the other 3 games of the winning streak.
So he has amped it up just lately on it, with the actual executing on the executioner shot. So they're.
Right. He's up to 7 power play goals now.
Nice.
Yeah. Being stuck on 3.
5 of them, 5 of the 7 have been on the executioner shot. So not bad. He doesn't get it off at even strength very much. In 22 games this year, he's only had 2 one-timers. But last year in 80 games, he only had 8 at even strength. So it's
a power play weapon.
It's a power play weapon. Yeah. Your bad thing, Bruce.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot bad really from tonight's game, and it's in some ways not fair to single these guys out because they had a wonderful game. But boy, was this a big hot mess behind the Oilers' net with about 4.5 minutes to go in the 3rd, and the Oilers had freshly tied it. And I'm at that point where we're thinking, well, you got to keep it 1-1 at minimum and win it in overtime, but you just can't make some kind of fatal blunder to, after finally tying this thing up. And there was a play where Matthias Ekholm went against the end boards and he went down, and Evan Bouchard came in to clean up, and he got the puck. But for some reason, he had it on his forehand if he wanted to wire it around the boards. And I think, honestly, the play was to wire it hard and even take the icing just because his partner was down and there was nobody really in front of the net. But for whatever reason, he tried to make a backhand pass right through the 2 Winnipeg guys that were in on this hard forecheck. And his pass doesn't get through. And now they come into the front of the net for the 2 shots I already described, and crediting Skinner for saving their bacon, which he most certainly did, and that would have been a tough pill to swallow. And I thought a little bit of a poor D-zone decision by Bouchard. And lest you think I'm down on these guys, I'm also going to make the point that in this game, Matthias Ekholm in 20 minutes and 25 seconds at even strength, the Corsi events, the shot attempts, were 39 for Edmonton and 8 for Winnipeg. And for Bouchard, an almost equally impressive 37-10. Like they had the puck going north most of the game. So it would have been really unfair if that had turned out to be. But, there was a mistake was made. And 2 of the 8 shot attempts against Ekholm happened in very short order following that turnover, and thankfully the goalie had the answer, so it was just a little bad thing instead of a great big ugly gaping bad thing like McLeod's last game where it turned into an actual goal. And so
last year Ekholm was the Oilers' best defenseman in the regular season when he joined the team for that stretch of play. And we haven't seen that player until tonight. I thought he was outstanding tonight. Aside from that one sequence where he just got knocked down and it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought Bouchard's play too was kind of a bang bang play. He's just trying to quickly move the puck up the boards and it hits someone the wrong way and
It went
bounces
the
off.
wrong way.
Yeah, so it wasn't a great play, and they're paid to make a better decision. But this
Mhm.
does happen, right? It's a bad bounce essentially,
Mhm.
and it's happening in the heat of the moment. So um, I've seen worse mistakes from Evan Bouchard,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
we are left in this game. It was a pretty darn good game by the Oilers. And my bad thing is there wasn't really anything bad on the play. It was a power play goal by the Jets where the puck's thrown around and there's a hard pass in from the side to the guy right in the crease, puts it in off his stick. It was a beautifully executed goal. It was a fantastic goal. And the defenders are doing all they can. They don't really make any egregious mistakes, but it's a bad thing because I hate to see even good goals against the Oilers, especially those perfectly executed ones. They're hard to take. But there wasn't much to pick from in this game.
No, no, it was fairly clean, and you could find a mistake here or there, and I chose the one that when it was 1-1 with 5 minutes
Yes,
left. Is
I agree with you. Yeah.
not the time, but there was and Skinner, as he did on the one, my bad thing, not yours, but all the other ones, he made the mistakes go away with some solid goaltending. So that's that's what you want, is your goalie there to help you out when you need it, and he did all of that.
Bruce, what is your numero?
Yeah, I think I got to go with 71%, David. And this was the Oilers' share of face-offs tonight. 44 wins, 18 losses, 71%. That is a hugely dominant figure. Frequently, you'll see it on the individual level, where one guy will win 70+% in the game. Sometimes you'll have one matchup where the one guy is beating the other guy like a drum. But this night, the Oilers were just winning them constantly. And the highlight fellow here, who up to fairly recently wasn't taking a lot of face-offs, was Connor McDavid. 16 wins, 2 losses, 89% in the game. Also, Leon Draisaitl, nine wins, 3 losses. James Hamblin, 5 wins, 1 loss. That was they had 3 of their 4 centers at 75% plus, and McLeod, the fourth, was 7 wins, 6 losses. So even he was over the above the water line, and it was that led to Oilers possession, and the Oilers possession numbers are also reflected in, this is my extra number.
Okay.
Corsi attempts of 69 for, 33 against at 5-on-5 in this game. Edmonton had more than 2 shot attempts for every 1 that they allowed, and they just had the puck a lot. And to some extent, I suppose, score effects in that Winnipeg led 1-0 for like 30, almost 35 minutes, I guess. But I thought Edmonton carried the play before the Winnipeg goal and largely after the Winnipeg goal. Winnipeg got their chances, but they weren't through long possessions. They were more through counterattacks, and so the game was closer than that. That stat suggests, but what they do tell us was that Edmonton had the puck a lot, and one of the reasons was they were winning most of the faceoffs. Oddly, the only goal that was scored off of faceoff tonight was the Winnipeg goal, when they won the faceoff on the power play and worked it around and got the goal. So those big faceoff number stats don't always line up with what happens in the individual plays that result in goals. But you'd rather win the faceoff than lose it, is my experience.
It's one more battle, and it can be a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce, my number is 3. The Oilers are now 3 points out of the final wild card spot. They have 19 points in 22 games. The final wild card spot is tied three ways by Arizona, Nashville, and Seattle, all of them with 22 points. So, as absolutely horrible as the Oilers' start to this season has been, it's been quite a good streak lately, and they're playing like everyone thought they would play right from the start of the year. They've got it going on. I think the biggest thing is McDavid's good health returning, and the team deciding not to make so many boneheaded plays on defense to bear down and not give up 2-on-1 rush goals against. Those will be the two biggest factors. Anyway, Bruce, they're just 3 points out, and there's 60 games to go. So
don't look now.
It's weird to mention. Did someone just win?
Calgary.
Oh, so I tied it 4 points out.
Yeah, they tied it with 3 minutes left, and then won it in overtime. Kadri from Huberdeau and Markstrom.
Well, that's fascinating. They just traded Zadorov for a third and a fifth round pick.
That's a lot of money. Yeah, for a third and a fifth to Vancouver. So Vancouver just added a big, mean, experienced defender basically for the cost of Anthony Beauvillier, who they traded to Chicago, and they used the cap space immediately to make room for Zadorov.
Oh, that's what they did.
Chicago got Corey Perry's salary off the books, and they needed an experienced NHL winger, so they got Beauvillier was offered, so they got him for a song, and Vancouver weaponized that cap space immediately, and I think upgraded from Beauvillier to Zadorov is,
I couldn't believe how little Calgary got for Zadorov. To me, and maybe I just see him good, but to me, he's just a big, rugged, effective defenseman who can play in your top four and is physical. Like, who wouldn't want a player like that on their team? And but maybe I haven't done the work on Nikita Zadorov. I haven't done the necessary hardcore video review or in-game scouting of this player to have a credible opinion. But I've always liked what I've seen of him. He's pretty flashy. And anyway, I thought that was a good trade for Vancouver. And it's nice to see Calgary giving away a good player. So the Oilers are now 4 points. 4 points. Is that right? Yeah, 4 points back at Calgary. Anyway, Bruce, they're right in it. And there's 60 games to go. So
60 games left. Time to panic.
Yeah. There has been plenty of panic. Well, the coach got fired, right? It's not just the fans who are panicking.
Oh, no.
There is some panic at the highest levels of the Oilers organization. And, I'm not judging them for changing the coach. I understand why it happened. And, but you did get the feeling, whoever was the coach, and I don't want to take anything away from Chris Knobloch, but whoever was the coach, this team, it didn't make any sense that they were losing so much. It was madness. It was like everything going wrong that could go wrong. And then that stopped. And now they're the good team that we expected.
Yeah, well, all along the numbers suggest that the Oilers were better than they are. You and I were, in our analysis, spying too many glaring mistakes made by Edmonton that obviously they needed to clean that up. Yeah. But now they've started to clean that up, and the underlying numbers remain. I mean, say tonight, Corsi 69 to 33 shots, 33 to 18, and at 5-on-5 or 39 to 26 overall. I mean, Edmonton had the better of the play, and the better of the play should mean more wins and losses, and we're starting to see that.
Yeah, their expected goals, I think, under Woodcroft were actually closer than, according to our numbers, they were closer than a lot of other people who look at that stat were saying based on their own work. We thought it was a little closer between the Oilers, but we still thought they were down about 10 goals compared to what they should have. Under Knobloch, they have been playing better. They've been dominating the grade A shots and the 5-alarm shots. And, with McDavid flying, that's not any kind of mystery that would happen. You get a player like that who's starting to play his A game, his triple A game, again, and the Oilers will tend to take off. Bruce, the conundrum, I don't know if this is much of a conundrum or if you've put much thought into it, but I ran a poll today on Corey Perry, and should the Oilers do due diligence on Corey Perry was the question. So I'm not asking if they should try to sign him.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking Oilers fans if they thought the Oilers should be interested in him at all. And since that poll came out, Perry himself came out with a rather heartfelt apology for his behavior, taking full responsibility, and essentially is a bit of a cry for help. That this was sounded like someone who's in fairly desperate straits.
Yep.
So put in a little different context. I think whatever happens with Corey Perry will play out over months, not weeks. There's a chance he could return to the NHL later this season. I mean, the clock's ticking on him. He's 38, but I don't think it's going to be any rush. Would you, if you were the Oilers, would you monitor this, dig into this, what happened, or would you just say, no, I don't want to get involved? What would be your take? And it was half and half the poll, half and half. Half the fans
was it?
yeah, exactly.
I'm a believer in due diligence, but I mean, this situation, there was a hell of a lot of rumors going around, and some of them were pretty nasty in terms of what actually happened. And eventually it got narrowed down to an alcohol-fueled incident at some kind of a team function where, there were sponsors and so on there, and he must have made a real ass of himself. And he's come out and, as you say, he issued a straight mea culpa. It's on me. It was my mistake, and I'm not trying to weasel out of it like some guys do. And he, said that he's got personal problems, and my suspicion is that he will take some time away from the game, very possibly enter the NHL substance abuse program. That seemed to be the thrust of his statement, to enter that program that the NHLPA has, and it might be a month or 6 weeks before we hear much more than he's gone into rehab, and what comes out the other side, who knows? But at least he manned up and took the blame on himself 100%, explained what the reason is, and I mean, there's alcohol and substance abuse are no laughing matter, but anybody in this society has someone they know and love who's gone through similar. Anyway, when he comes out the other side, who knows? I mean, he's a free agent, right? Because the Blackhawks just basically terminated his contract, similar to what happened with Evander Kane 2 years ago. I would suspect there'd be some interest given the circumstances, and I would suspect that whoever gets him will not have to pay the $4 million that Chicago gave him to be a mentor to Connor Bedard. Boy, did that blow up on them. But it sure blew up on Corey Perry, and when he comes back, I suspect he'll be a lot closer to the league minimum than he will be to $4 million.
Yeah, he's an interesting player because in 3 of the last 4 years, he's been on teams that went to the Stanley Cup Finals: Dallas, Montreal, and Tampa. And he didn't do that last year. They all lost, but that's nonetheless significant. He's got a great record. People with drugs and alcohol issues tend to make terrible decisions. It looks like that's what happened. And we don't know if he's victimized someone else or if there's involved. So that's going to play in. That plays into it as well. Like we can feel sympathy for Corey Perry, but he may have hurt other people. And so that's something to keep in mind as well. I do think that the Oilers would be, the Oilers' depth at forward isn't great. They could probably use a really rugged, nasty fourth line hockey player in the playoffs. And if Corey Perry in 2 or 3 months is ready to come back to hockey and he's fit and he's turned things around, I could, you dig into it, you see what's there. And I guess I would do due diligence and not shut that door if I were the Oilers, because he's a player. If you want to win, he's a player that might be able to help you win, and that's the bottom line in a hockey operation. So, and as a cautionary tale for people who wouldn't give Perry a second chance, a lot of people quite reasonably for heartfelt and profound reasons were against Evander Kane getting a second chance in Edmonton. There was huge opposition, much more than 50% opposition, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember if we did a poll about Kane at the time. I think it was more like a third of the people who were open to it. But Kane has come here, and I think most people would say that he has certainly fulfilled his end of it on the ice, but also as a citizen, as a teammate, and as a citizen of Edmonton, he's also stepped up, and I don't think anyone has any complaints. In fact, he's getting a lot of praise. So far, at least, that's worked out. So sometimes it does, and sometimes people make the best of second chances, or third, or fourth, or fifth chances, which is what professional athletes will sometimes get, and many people get in life. So not just them, but lots of people get lots of chances to redeem themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get the same thing in society. People, do something. They go to prison. They pay their debt to society, and they come out and they turn their lives around, and some of them don't. But the ones that do deserve credit for getting it together.
Yeah.
And Craig McTavish, to go way back, is a guy who made one very terrible decision that wound up proving, it cost the woman her life. And whatever.
In a car accident.
Yes.
You should say, in case people don't know the incident.
Vehicular homicide, it was called. Yeah. He was driving drunk, and he was in an accident that killed Kim Radcliffe. And he spent his year in prison. He pled guilty to spend his year in prison, and he got relocated from Boston to Edmonton, thanks to Glenn Sather reaching out to Harry Sinden and getting him out here. And he turned everything around. He approached Kim Radcliffe's family or parents, and was able to, even make friends with them, and they have an ongoing relationship to this day, is my understanding. He spoke out at clinics and as a public speaker, and he was a model citizen. He is a model citizen, and that one horrible thing was a life-changing event for him, but many of those changes were for the better in the long term. Despite the horrible costs, I give credit to him for how he responded to the mess that he got himself into.
I do as well. Bruce, 5 days off now? Is that what it is?
5 days off. They don't play again till the 6th of December. And they're going streaking on a 4-game winning streak, which you might think is a bad time to not be playing, but it's nice going into that. I know if they'd lost this game, it would have put a little sour taste on the win streak they just had. And now somehow they've come out of November 7-7. They lost the first 4 games, and then they had a 3-game winning streak, and they had a 3-game losing streak, and now they had won the last 4 games. So they're very topsy-turvy months, but when all's said and done, they got 14 points from 14 games.
All righty. Well, let's leave it there, and we'll be back. We might even do a podcast in the break. We'll see if there's much to talk about. Often there is. Yeah. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.